Does anybody else get a burning sense of dread when you see this with the music? Yesterday, Danny had an announcement. It was her and that guy and that guy. I don't know why that guy was there. He didn't say anything. But since the UCP government is now done fucking around with the lives of children, they're moving on to another vulnerable population, seniors. See, according to them, there's a problem in our acute healthcare system. Seniors. More specifically, seniors taking up beds that shouldn't be there. It might not just be seniors. Anybody really needing assisted living. And she threw out some numbers, because she's great at that. There were a certain number of people taking up acute beds, and the total number of hours and days they were there equaled 18 years. My pearls. Except she never really talks about why that is. And there could be a plethora of reasons. I think I talked about this a long time ago. 2 years ago. I think that was when she said she'd fix healthcare in 90 days. But because this UCP government cares so much about Albertans, they've come up with a plan. You guessed it, there's pillars. This UCP government loves a good pillar. You know what pillars do? Pillars divide things. Oh, one might think it supports something, but it doesn't. You can also hide behind pillars. Peekaboo! And sometimes you don't know what's behind one pillar, because the pillar is also designed to block things. Now, I'm not gonna play the presser, but the UCP is dedicating money, so much money, so that people can age with dignity in their homes. Inherently, that's not a bad thing, but it's gonna require a lot of support. But don't you worry, UCP government's gotcha. They're gonna increase home care, people to drive you to appointments, and they're gonna open up so many more assisted living and long-term care beds. And so I watched and I watched and I listened. I heard the questions from the reporters, most of which had to do with her recall. And look, I understand that's a hot topic. But when the government is talking about giving all this money, providing all these supports, getting shovels in the ground, nobody asked the question, nor was it said, if these new beds that are going to happen, new facilities, are going to be public or private. Oh, they'll say it's all public money. Don't you worry, the government's going to pay for it all. Except there's a big difference. And in Alberta, I'm sure much to your surprise, there are far more private for profit than there are public long-term care and assisted living. Lisa, mind your business. A bed's a bed. Nuh-uh. A bed is not a bed. And look, this is nothing against anybody who works in a private for profit. This is against the owners of private for profit, the shareholders, who all make fat bank on the backs of your loved one. See, seniors are big business. Just look at the fuckery that happened with that Christensen group thing. Not a long-term or assisted living, but fucked over seniors. Because if you can't take care of your loved one at home, and you want to ensure that they are somewhere safe, getting the best care, if you can afford it, you're gonna pay. And private for-profits will take that money gleefully, because they're getting subsidized by the government, but they're not accountable to the government. See the problem? Goals of private versus public are very different. Now, JJ Nixon doesn't have all the details yet. Those will come out later, probably from behind a pillar. But my question is, when shovel hits dirt, is the government of Alberta putting money into public or private long-term care? I mean, I know the answer. It's just something to be cautious of. Because again, the UCP is great at spouting off all these statistics, number of beds. We don't have healthcare workers who work in these facilities every day. Healthcare workers in long-term and assisted living, even home care, are working short, which means there aren't enough staff, in my mind, to safely perform the duties for your loved one. But they're gonna do it because they care about your loved one at their own expense. So remember that when you hear about bargaining for healthcare workers looking after your loved one at their most vulnerable, because this government doesn't want to pay them. And if we then look at private, and the private is looking at their checks and balances and profit, best believe they're gonna understaff. Anyway, that's my rant for today. I'll leave you with this little gem, because it was too good not to include.
I think that this weaponization of recall is very much along the same lines. It's very easy to take out a petition. All you have to do is pay $500 and write a paragraph and get a CFO, and you can launch a campaign. And so we'll watch and see if the rules are being followed, and we'll have a better understanding if there's any tightening up of those rules that need to be made in the future. But I think that this is sadly undermining confidence in our democratic processes and our democratic system.
Kind of like when you guys use the notwithstanding clause all willy-nilly. Oh, and if you're looking to make sure the rules are being followed, maybe check on Neudorf's recall. You shady motherfuckers.